Daniel and Meera looked like the perfect couple, but one secret recording hidden inside their apartment would soon expose a terrifying truth. While Daniel carefully built the image of a loving husband, Meera quietly battled a growing fear she could not explain. Behind closed doors, inside a modern high-rise filled with sunlight and silence, something far darker was unfolding. What began as small doubts and strange behavior would lead to chilling audio evidence, a hidden pattern of deadly accidents, and the shocking discovery that Meera was living with a man who had been planning her death all along. Daniel and Meera looked like the kind of couple people admired without question. Their social media accounts were filled with carefully framed photos of candlelight dinners, weekend road trips, and soft morning sunlight pouring into their modern apartment. Friends often commented about how lucky they were to have found each other. They had been married for 3 years, and from the outside, their life seemed stable, calm, and full of promise. They lived on the 14th floor of a tall glass building in the center of the city. The apartment was bright and stylish, decorated with neutral colors and expensive furniture. Daniel worked long hours at a financial consulting firm, and his income allowed them to live comfortably. Meera worked from home as a graphic designer, which meant she spent most of her time inside the apartment. In the beginning, their marriage felt exciting and secure. Daniel was attentive and protective. He liked to know where Meera was and when she would be home. At first, she believed his constant questions were signs of care and concern. Over time, those questions slowly turned into something heavier. He began checking her phone without asking. He wanted access to her passwords. He insisted on knowing the names of her clients and friends. Small arguments started happening more often. Daniel would become silent for hours after minor disagreements. His moods shifted unpredictably. Some days he was charming and affectionate. Other days he was cold and distant, watching her carefully as if studying her behavior. Meera tried to convince herself that stress from work was changing him. But deep inside, a quiet fear was beginning to grow. Something about Daniel's calm smile no longer felt comforting. It felt rehearsed. Meera tried to ignore the uneasy feeling for weeks, but it refused to disappear. The apartment no longer felt like a safe space. Every corner seemed to carry tension. Even simple sounds, like Daniel's footsteps in a hallway or the soft click of a door closing, made her heart beat faster. She could not explain why she felt this way. There was no clear evidence of danger, only a growing sense that something was wrong. One afternoon, while Daniel was at work, she sat alone at the kitchen table staring at her laptop. She searched for small recording devices. It felt dramatic and unnecessary, yet she could not shake the feeling that she needed proof of whatever was happening around her. Within minutes, she ordered a compact voice recorder that looked like an ordinary USB drive. When it arrived 2 days later, she opened the package carefully, as if someone might be watching. The device was small and simple. She tested it, listening to her own voice play back through her headphones. The sound was clear. That evening, she placed the recorder inside a decorative box on the living room bookshelf. It blended in perfectly between old photo frames and travel souvenirs. Her hands trembled slightly as she pressed the button to begin recording. For the first few days, she felt foolish. The recordings captured nothing unusual. The television played in the background. Daniel spoke on work calls. Dishes clinked in the kitchen. Normal, harmless sounds. But as the days passed, she noticed subtle changes in his routine. He moved around the apartment late, at night more often. Drawers opened and closed after midnight. Furniture shifted slightly from its original position. Each small detail made her more certain that she had done the right thing. She just did not know how disturbing the next recording would be. Meera chose her moment carefully. She told Daniel she would be spending the weekend at her sister's house to help with a family matter. He reacted calmly, almost too calmly. That alone made her more determined to follow through with her plan. Instead of leaving the city, she stayed at a close friend apartment only a few streets away. She carried her laptop with her, her thoughts racing the entire time. The recorder remained hidden on the bookshelf, silently capturing everything inside the apartment. That night felt longer than any she had experienced before. Around midnight, Unable to control her anxiety, she transferred the audio file remotely through the device's paired application. Her hands felt cold as she pressed play. At first, the recording was ordinary. The sound of the front door closing, footsteps moving across the wooden floor, the television switching on. Minutes passed with nothing unusual. Then the atmosphere changed. Heavy objects scraped against the floor. It sounded like furniture being dragged across the room. The movements were slow and deliberate. There were long pauses between each shift, as if someone was carefully measuring space. Drawers opened sharply. Cabinets shut with force. For nearly 20 minutes, there was only pacing. Back and forth, back and forth. The rhythm felt controlled, not restless. Then came the part that made her freeze. Daniel's voice filled the room, but did not sound familiar. It was flat and detached, stripped of warmth. He spoke in a steady tone, describing how certain areas of the apartment could be rearranged. He mentioned timing. He discussed how easily accidents could be explained if everything looked natural. There was no emotion in his voice. No hosetaschen. It sounded like preparation. By the time the recording ended, Meera understood one terrifying truth. Her fear had not been imaginary. The next morning, Meera returned to the apartment as if nothing had changed. Daniel greeted her with his usual composed expression. The living room looked neat, almost staged. The sofa had been moved slightly closer to the balcony doors. A rug was rolled halfway under the coffee table, as if someone had been adjusting it. Daniel behaved normally, asking about her sister and offering to make breakfast. His calmness felt carefully performed. Meera forced herself to mirror that normal behavior. Inside, however, her thoughts were racing. She had already saved multiple copies of the recording onto a secure cloud account. She knew she needed more than audio. She needed proof that showed a clear pattern. Later that evening, when Daniel stepped into the shower, she moved quickly. His laptop was on the desk in the bedroom. He rarely locked it, confident that she would never invade his privacy. Her hands trembled as she opened the browser history. At first, nothing unusual appeared. News articles, financial reports, sports updates. Then she checked the deleted history folder. Her breath slowed as she scrolled. There were searches about increasing life insurance policies without notifying a spouse immediately. There were articles discussing common household accidents in apartments. She found forums explaining how certain cleaning chemicals could be misused. There were questions about how long toxins remain undetectable in the bloodstream. Her chest tightened. She opened his email next. There were messages confirming that her life insurance coverage had recently been raised to a significant amount. She had never agreed to that change. The realization settled heavily over her. This was not paranoia. This was planning. When the bathroom door opened and steam drifted into the hallway, Meera closed the laptop quietly and returned to the kitchen. Daniel stepped out moments later, smiling as if nothing in the world was wrong. Meera knew she could not handle the situation alone. The evidence she had found was disturbing, but she needed confirmation from someone experienced. Without alerting Daniel, she contacted a lawyer through a private email account and explained that she feared for her safety. The lawyer advised her to remain calm and avoid confrontation while gathering more information. He also suggested hiring a licensed private investigator. Within days, the investigator began digging into Daniel's past. On the surface, Daniel's record appeared clean. Stable employment, no criminal charges, respectable financial history. But deeper searches revealed something he had never mentioned. Daniel had been married before. His first wife, Anika, had died 4 years earlier. According to official records, she had fallen from the balcony of their previous apartment in another city. The incident was ruled an accident. Investigators at the time concluded she had likely slipped while watering plants. There were no witnesses, and Daniel was reportedly out buying groceries when it happened. The case was closed quickly. However, when the investigator reviewed archived reports, certain details stood out. The balcony railing had been recently repaired just weeks before the fall. Anika had also increased her life insurance policy 2 months prior to her death. The similarities were impossible to ignore. High-rise apartment, sudden fatal fall, insurance payout. The investigator uncovered another chilling detail. After Anika's death, Daniel had received a substantial insurance settlement. Within a year, he relocated and eventually met Meera. As Meera read the report, a cold wave of realization washed over her. She was living inside a pattern that had already happened once before. The charming husband she married had a hidden history, and if history was repeating itself, she was standing dangerously close to the edge. Meera understood that leaving suddenly could trigger suspicion. If Daniel sensed that she knew the truth, his plans might accelerate. She needed stronger proof before making any sudden move. Fear was now mixed with strategy. Every action had to be careful and controlled. She ordered a small hidden camera and installed it inside a decorative clock in the kitchen. The angle faced the counter where Daniel usually prepared drinks and meals. She also moved the voice recorder from the bookshelf to the bedroom, placing it beneath the bed frame where it would not easily be discovered. Each device was tested twice. She made sure the recordings were automatically uploaded to a secure cloud account that Daniel could not access. Over the next few days, Daniel's behavior shifted again. He became unusually attentive. He insisted on cooking dinner every night. He offered to prepare herbal teas and vitamin drinks, claiming he wanted her to stay healthy. His tone was gentle, but his eyes carried something unreadable. He watched her reactions closely, as if measuring success. One evening, after dinner, Meera excused herself and went to the bathroom, leaving her half-finished drink on the kitchen counter. Her heart pounded as she waited behind the closed door, staring at her phone. The camera notification appeared. She opened the live feed. Daniel stood at the counter, looking toward the hallway to confirm she was not there. He reached into a cabinet, removed a small container, and poured a fine substance in her glass. He stirred it carefully until it dissolved completely. His movements were calm and precise. There was no hesitation. When Meera saw the footage replay seconds later, her fear transformed into certainty. This was no longer suspicion or pattern recognition. It was attempted murder captured on camera. Meera did not drink from the glass that night. Instead, she carefully poured its contents into a sealed container and stored it inside her bag while Daniel was distracted. She acted tired and went to bed early, pretending to feel unwell. Inside, her mind was focused and alert. She knew the time had come to act. The next morning, while Daniel was at work, she went directly to the police station with everything she had gathered. She handed over the audio recordings, the hidden camera footage, screenshots of the insurance policy changes, and an investigator's detailed report about Anika's death. She also gave them the sealed sample from the drink. Authorities moved quickly. Laboratory tests later confirmed that the substance in the drink was toxic and could have caused severe organ failure if consumed in a larger amount. The evidence was no longer circumstantial. It was physical and undeniable. Daniel was arrested at his office later that afternoon. Co-workers watched in shock as officers escorted him out of the building. News of his arrest spread rapidly through their social circle, leaving friends confused and disbelief filling social media feeds that once celebrated their perfect marriage. Police reopened the investigation into Anika's death. Forensic experts re-examined old photographs and medical reports. Injuries that once seemed consistent with a fall now appeared suspicious. Small bruises suggested restraint before the fall. The balcony railing showed signs of forced weakening that had previously been overlooked. When detectives searched Daniel's current apartment, they discovered hidden chemicals stored behind cleaning products and a handwritten checklist outlining steps to stage accidental deaths. The carefully crafted image of a devoted husband collapsed under the weight of evidence. But the most disturbing discovery was still waiting to surface. As investigators continued examining Daniel's devices, they uncovered something that unsettled even the experienced detectives. Hidden deep inside encrypted folders were dozens of audio files and video clips. Daniel had been secretly recording Meera for months. He documented her daily routine with precision. What time she woke up, how long she worked when she called friends, and even how often she stepped onto the balcony. Each file was labeled with dates and short notes. organized like a research project. It became clear that Daniel did not act impulsively. He studied his victims. He observed patterns. He looked for weaknesses. The recordings revealed that he carefully calculated timing, waiting for moments when neighbors were least active or when security cameras in the building faced away from certain angles. His crimes were not emotional outbursts. They were structured plans. During the trial, prosecutors presented the recordings Meera had made alongside the files discovered on Daniel's computer. The contrast was chilling. One set exposed his preparation. The other revealed how close he had come to succeeding again. Further financial investigations showed Daniel had quietly taken out smaller insurance policies on Meera over the past year, adjusting them gradually to avoid attention. Experts testified that the pattern matched the steps he had followed before Anika's death. In the courtroom, the image of a calm, responsible professional dissolved completely. Evidence showed a calculated predator hiding behind politeness and charm. Meera's decision to trust her instincts and press record had not only saved her life, but also uncovered a repeating cycle of carefully staged accidents. The small device hidden in her home exposed years of manipulation. What once appeared to be a loving marriage was, in truth, a carefully constructed trap that nearly claimed another victim.